Hey you guys, thanks for joining us. We've got a really important video that we want to give to you today. We're going to spend just a few minutes and we're going to talk to you about the 10 steps to getting it sold. First, introductions. My name is Mark Hulsey. I'm the managing broker of RE/MAX Results Commercial Group.
And I'm Hayden Hulsey, a broker in the group, been working here for about 9 years now.
So we are with RE/MAX Results Commercial Group, which is kind of a commercial investment brokerage boutique within RE/MAX Results. RE/MAX Results, we're one of the larger franchises in the world for RE/MAX. We're about 40 offices and 1,200 agents. So we are kind of a powerhouse within the marketplace, to say the very least. And we are the resident commercial investment experts. So today, let's get started on the 10 steps to getting it sold. So the first step is going to be about understanding the client's objective. And this is fundamental, right? You can go into a meeting and you can start talking all about yourself and how smart you are and how great you are and your wonderful track record. But that's quite secondary to first stepping in and making sure that you're very clear on understanding what is it that the client's trying to achieve. And it's our job to be the experts that once we understand what they're trying to achieve, to kind of lay out the options for them. And all I mean by that, you guys, that maybe it's not a matter of selling a property, maybe it's a matter of leasing a property and creating an income stream, or maybe it's selling a property on a contract for deed, land contract, seller financing. And they're too creating some type of an income stream. So it's really important that we always understand the client's objective first and foremost. Where are they at in this whole process? Where's their pain? What's their timeline? And then what can we do to help them out?
Step number 2 of the 10 steps to getting it sold is understanding the asset. So say once we get that referral or that seller calls us, we get prepared for the listing appointment. So we have to get all of our file put together, which includes pulling, realist, county reports, any previous listings, CoStar, anything that we can find on this property. So we need to get an idea of assessed value, square footage, where is it located, start to do some overhead views, take a look at zoning, because those all play into the value, of course, which is one of the steps within this process. So we really need to know what we have here. Number 3 is the valuation. This is one of the most important pieces for obvious reasons. We can go win a listing, but if it's not valued right, the market's not going to pay attention to it. It's also our job for a seller to go get the most money and not leave any money on the table. So what we have to do is once we've gathered all the info, we have to take a look at what is it worth. And the 2 ways to really come to that, there's 3, but the 2 ways that we do it as brokers are the income and market analysis. The income analysis is saying, what are the rents? What are the expenses? You get net operating income. From there, you apply a cap rate. Now, this gets a little tricky when you don't have an occupied building, or if rents are really low, you have to do a pro forma. We won't go too deep into that, but it's projecting income going forward. The other is a market analysis. That hits on what have properties been selling for? What are they active, sitting on the market right now at? That usually is looked at as a price per square foot. That is then applied to the subject. So the income analysis and the market analysis are the 2 ways that we derive value.
The packaging. So what we have to do is, and again, our focus at RE/MAX Results Commercial Group, we're very seller focused. We are experts at taking product to market. That's what we do. We do it better than most of our competition. And a big part of that is knowing how to take a property. You'll hear me use the word property and asset interchangeably here, and knowing how to package it up. How to package it and position it. And there's actually a lot of marketing work involved when it comes to packaging up a property. We don't do a simple flyer or a simple brochure. We have to put together what's called an offering memorandum, which is a very elaborate document that has pretty much, if you can think about anything about this property, it could be from zoning to traffic counts, demographics, description, square footages, you name it, we've got it covered within an offering memorandum. We design an OM, offering memorandum, so that anybody, anywhere, you could be in London or Miami and you could look at one of our properties, read through the offering memorandum and have a really good understanding of what it's all about. We're also dealing with balance sheets and P&Ls, NDAs, CAs, non-disclosures, confidentiality agreements, forgive the acronyms. So there's quite a lot in putting all this together. Needless to say, we deal with a lot of professional photography, videography, virtual walkthroughs, all of those kinds of things as part of the packaging. Similarly, positioning, what we're doing there is we're taking a look at the particular property or the asset, and we're really thinking through about what makes it unique, special. Is there something about this property that could be a potential redevelopment? Is it a stable property? Is it a value add? But how do we not only package it up and take it to market, but how do we position it out there for the investment community or for an owner-occupant?
Number 6 is going to market. So once the packaging and positioning is complete, this is the exciting part where we actually get to take the product to the market and show the potential brokers and buyers what we have. A lot of work goes into this. This is when we strategically place it at the right time. We have everything set up for the listing, hopefully to succeed. You want to put your best foot forward. So you don't want to go online, you don't want to have pictures that are, inferior or inaccurate square footages or, the obvious things like pricing's wrong. It's not as easy as, put it on one spot and click a button. We're across the board with a number of databases. So everything that we do is some of it's controlled by us, some of it is reps. We have to really make sure and proof things 2-3 times to make sure it's accurate. It's also crucial that you place these listings at the right time, because anytime that a new listing hits the market, there's going to be saved searches set up. This gets in front of those buyers or those brokers. So we really want to have everything positioned and packaged the right way, then we hit the market.
And just kind of touching what Hayden was just talking about in terms of that going to market, because going to market is complex. Like he said, there's a lot of databases that we're using, but we're also dealing with a lot of social media platforms, email marketing. So there's a number of different pieces that we're hitting on when it comes to taking that product to market and making sure that it gets the best exposure. If it was only as easy as sometimes what we can see on our residential side of putting on the MLS and 15 minutes later the whole world's excited about the property, but there's a whole lot more to it. Okay, touring. So you guys, in our world, it's called touring versus showings or what have you. And what's different about commercial real estate with tourings is that we provide the tours. We don't typically ever just have a lockbox sitting on a property and the other broker with their client shows up and goes through the property. Could it happen? So does it sometimes happen? Yes, but it's pretty rare. The only time that we're going to have something like that is it might be a vacant property, but typically we do the tours. We meet the other broker. There's not some window of time available. If it's a 10 o'clock appointment, you're there at 9:45. You're meeting the other party there at 10 o'clock. Our clients hire us to sell the building, and part of the selling of the building is making sure that you are there to present the building. That is a big part of the touring of the property.
Number 8 is negotiating. So this is probably my favorite part. It's actually putting the deal together. So after we've done our work with, getting it out there, now the market's seen it and hopefully we're getting offers. So we get that purchase agreement that comes in, we take a look at it, and because we've done so many deals, you know what to look for and you know what we should be pushing for with our sellers. So that's everything from, the obvious is price, but that's only part of the story. It's due diligence being one of the largest. That's knowing how long is this deal potentially going to drag out? When can they pull the plug? When is earnest money non-refundable? The other key piece with this, of course, is financing. Is it financed? Is it cash? Is it a contract for deed, which is seller financing? It's our job to really know what the best route is for our seller and hopefully put that deal together in that fashion. With that, the negotiating is all dependent upon what route you're going. A cash deal, the timing is completely different than a finance deal where you have hoops to jump through with the lender and underwriting. There's still going to be some of the same items that are required, environmental reports and surveys and inspections, but it can usually be streamlined much quicker. Seller financing deal can be similar to cash because you don't have a bank, but you still have some of the same hurdles.
Due diligence management. So quickly, you guys, on due diligence management. So you're through the purchase agreement, and many times in real estate, it's kind of like, whew, okay, we got the PA done. Isn't this wonderful? And now we can just kind of mosey through the rest of the steps. It's not that way in commercial investment real estate. Due diligence management means kind of exactly that. We have this long list that has to be properly managed. And it doesn't matter if you're on the buyer side or on the seller side, regardless, there's a whole big long checklist that we need to work through. If there's a lender, the lender is going to be very involved in helping with that process. The lender is going to help dictate, do they need environmental studies, a phase 1? Do we need to go to a phase 2? Do we need to adjust our timing as we're doing that? That simply means, do we need to amend a purchase agreement because the phase 1 uncovers something that's going to require a phase 2? Is it a full phase 2? Is it a limited phase 2? There's a lot of variables involved in that. But some of the other kinds of due diligence items are going to be like investment real estate, where it's based on, say, tenancy and income. We're working with real property attorneys. We're working with lenders hand in hand. Our client is surrounded with experts, and we're digging into the leases, we're digging into the tenants, the balance sheets, P&Ls, the whole darn thing to make sure that we fully understand that. So due diligence management is a project in and of itself and a critical piece of the whole puzzle.
Final step, number 10, closing and funding. So we always tell our clients nothing is done until you're walking out of closing with that check or wire, but until it's fully closed, everything is signed and delivered. So this is where hopefully all the pieces came together. We help all the way up through this process and beyond. So we're taking a look at all the closing statements and drafts and making sure that either the title company or attorneys are drafting the relevant closing docs. We do attend our closings if it's a in-person signing, if it's not remote. So we're there with the seller to answer any last-minute questions, and then we're wrapped up. And if there's questions thereafter, we're always there to be reached.
So I hope this was helpful to you. Again, we couldn't really get into a lot of detail here today because we only have a few minutes. Suffice it to say that taking a property from the moment that phone call comes into, I want to sell my office building or my retail building or what have you, all the way through to the point of closing and funding is quite an elaborate process. There's a tremendous amount of work that goes into this. Actually, not just work, but a lot of money and expense to take something to market the right way. It's only the market that determines the value. But if a broker is not taking it to market the right way, how in the world can we really establish a fair value? And those are the principles that we live by. We want to make sure that when a seller is hiring us, that we're giving it the most exposure to get the biggest price for the property for them. So we thank you for joining us today, and we hope you have a great afternoon.